(6:02 p.m.) and I'd like to welcome everybody to the meeting of the Wyndham Northeast Supervisory Union Board. We're meeting at the Bellows Falls Union High School, and it's a pleasure to have those of you who are here in person and those joining us remotely. So we like to have a round of introductions, particularly, although I don't see Fact TV yet. Are they?
They are up in the right-hand corner.
Okay, perfect. That's outstanding. Because especially for those people who watch later, we like to have people know who they're looking at. So Karen, let's start with you, please.
Yeah, Karen Blanchard, Westminster School Board.
Jason Terry, Bellows Falls Union High School School Board.
June Streeter, Bellows Falls Union High School Board.
Chris Tibby, Rockingham School Board, Vice Chair of WNESU and Treasurer. No,
Andy Haas, Superintendent.
Cheryl Charles, Chair of the SU Board and Chair of the Westminster Board.
Priscilla Lambert, representing Rockingham on this board, and clerk of WNESU board.
Mary Fader, Grafton representative on the BFUHS board.
Lynn Morgan, representative from the Grafton Athens Board. And let's go to the screen. I can see, Teen, introduce yourself, please.
Dean BLC, Westminster School Board.
Thank you. Mike.
Yes, Mike Stack, Rockingham.
Thank you. Jigs McCullough.
Alleges that Adam continued to hit Harmony along the way. From there, it was the Colonial Village Apartments on West River Road. This is where the
I can't hear anything.
Montgomery family lived out of their car after they were evicted from their Guilford Street home.
Jim McCullough, we know you're here. Okay.
Jigs,
Thank you.
I think, Jigs, you have another tab open on your computer which is playing something, and that's why.
He can't hear, so let me send him a message.
Okay.
It's to work, and where the state alleges that he stored his daughter's remains in a walk-in freezer.
Get him muted. Yeah.
Now, the jury also stopped at the intersections of.
Thank you. Very good. All right, with that, we've done introductions. Let me ask if there are any adjustments to the agenda. Okay, this is a special meeting with a special purpose tonight. So let me ask first, though, before we turn to that, if there are any communications and public comments. Looks like not. All right. With that, then Andy, I would like you to make the introductions and set the stage for what we're here to do tonight.
Sure, thank you. So tonight, one of the things in speaking with our teachers and the leadership of that association, they had, we're working on climate and our survey with our teachers and with our students and our population. It's been a big piece since we've come out of COVID, really trying to address what is going on and keep there doing two things at once. I apologize. So one of the things we've done is we have been working with Focus Schools for 3 years now. We're in our third year working with them, and Brett Bishop has been our lead consultant, and Brett has been here with you all and talking about the instructional leadership team work that we've been doing, and they've been guiding us on. And so in wanting boards to kind of get an understanding of what we do as teachers and administrators with the instructional leadership teams, asked Brett to kind of walk us through an inquiry cycle, or the board to walk through an inquiry cycle, but also to unpack some of this climate data that we have. And to start looking at, okay, where do we go from here type of thing. So, so Brett graciously was able to come up here and lead us through that. So.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Yeah, thanks, and great to see everyone again. Thanks for the opportunity to be with you. And I will say, been married for 34 years, and I've learned a lot of things that I really should listen to my wife. And one of the things she tells me is I have to remember, if I'm comfortable, everybody else is freezing. And it seems to me that's in effect right now, because I'm completely comfortable. And as I look at you folks, it looks like it might get cold in here. So I'm probably also the only one where Vermont is a southern state for me, because I grew up in Maine. So Vermont is where we come to get warm. So, I am actually feeling very comfortable, so I'm feeling bad for all of you. So, thanks again for the opportunity to come visit with you. And, so as Andy said, one of the things we've, done a lot of work with had the privilege of working with your instructional leadership teams is, and we talked about the last time I was here, is the use of data to drive decision-making in schools, so that we are prioritizing the way we're impacting students' lives, and the actual data that can guide us to do that, and using a cycle to do so, so that we just get really good at driving our decision-making based upon what's the impact we're having with kids. And so one of the things we talked about the last time we were here is that perhaps it might be an opportunity at some point for this board to do the same thing. So that's why we're back thinking about that together. And as Andy said, he sent a group of slides here earlier today that are basically designed to help us do that. And what I'm going to do is just talk a little bit about this process. Do I have this not on yet?
Should have control. The big button?
Yep.
Oh, you know, this is controlling my,
Oh, sorry.
no, because I have it open here as well, so if it below that, you should not have control over that. There you go.
Awesome, thank you. Just a little, I'm gonna just teach a little bit before we go on some of the things that are happening. So you see this, the strategic action plan sort of on a one-page document there that helps to think about the way in which your team of leaders has put together some really powerful looks at what your goals are and where you want to be. And there are 3 circles here that kind of define what we're talking about here tonight. First of all, the idea of strengthening leadership. So this group being a leadership group, how do we make sure that our way we're leading is really impacting, and how we're doing things that we think are going to get us to where we want to be. Also the notion that when we empower teams like this one to lead in that way, this trickles all the way down, right down to the daily teaching and learning of every single kid in the district. So it's a really powerful thing that you folks are all thinking this way. And this drives, these are the words from this page that really drive all the work that's going on here at your SU. And so we're really pleased to be a part of that. But this is sort of the way we think about all the work that we do in supporting your folks here. So sorry, I must be off again. Sorry about that, Mike.
You might need to aim it this way. Or,
No, sorry.
I don't know, I thought it would.
Yeah.
See if I can. Van up for you.
There we go.
All right, where do you want it? Are you doing it now?
Yeah, just
You know what it is?
Yeah.
I close that, so
Yeah,
you do have control again now.
Okay,
I'll keep my hands off.
yeah. So, one of the things that we try to do, is model the work that the research is saying is the best in classrooms and in professional development in our work. And one of the things we know is that the effect size of using things like learning targets in classrooms and in professional development is really powerful. So before we even start, always saying, let's say it's a group of kids, let's say it's a group of adults that we're working with, what are our targets? What do we want to get done? So essentially there are 2 targets here today. By the time we walk up this door, we'd like to get 2 things done. One, we want to just build some capacity, because the idea of using this data inquiry cycle, what we hope is that as we do this, it would be something that you could do without our help, right? We would just sort of, gradually release out of it, and you would be, we would disappear and you'd still be able to do it. So using an inquiry cycle for decision-making is one of the things we want to just build some capacity here. Second thing is, we want to make sure we leave here with some action steps, right? It's a really good idea for us to get together and work together. But if we don't leave with some real concrete actions, then you can't really say we've made any progress. So what we want to do is make sure we leave here today, we have some concrete action steps that we think will be good. And what we always say is when we get together, adults get together, knee to knee, eyeball to eyeball, the idea is always that something good happens for children. We translate it into something good happening for students across the SU. So, those two outcomes, before I leave that slide, I just want to check in. Any questions about either of those things or thoughts that you have before we sort of delve into a little bit? Okay, so this is the cycle that we looked at the last time we were together, and I just want to talk about it for a couple of seconds before we get started. The idea of having a collaborative data inquiry cycle is, to our way of thinking, almost like if you use the metaphor of a carpenter, they have a toolbox next to them when they go to do their work. And there are certain tools that they know anytime they do the work, they're going to be reaching in a toolbox and again, a hammer, a tape measure, a saw, whatever it might be, they're going to reach in and they're going to use it. We think in leadership of the idea of a district SU or a school, data inquiry cycle becomes a tool that we use again, again, and again. Because it's something that can help us to make sure, I'm going to use my own experience as a school leader. Some of the biggest mistakes I made were when I trusted in my own eyes too much, right? I was a person who cared a lot. I was a person who came early, stayed late, tried hard, really wanted things to go better. And what I learned over time was, even though all those things are true, I'm seeing it only through my own eyes, right? So there's lots of things, even though I care a lot, even though I'm really trying hard, there's lots of things that I don't know or that I miss, right? So when we use data to drive our decision making, we become better because we get lots of viewpoints and lots of thoughts, right? So helping leaders to do that is one of the things we think is really valuable. So this tool, there's lots of inquiry cycles out there. There's not any perfect one, but this is one that you're using in your SUs and your schools. And it just helps us to get into this idea of how we move across this to get together. For the center, meaning all means all. And to our way of thinking, that's what we say to remind us that every single kid that's in our care, regardless of age, every single one of them deserves the very best from us. And easy to say, hard to do, right? That's a hard thing to do in schools. And I've lived my whole career learning about how to do that and failing a lot of times. So I think it's a powerful thing for us to think about. So when we use data to drive decision making, it's a step toward getting to a place where we use it all means all. So I'm just going to group these little blue circles into three for a second. If you see in these first three steps that we're about to do momentarily, you see that it's a place where what we do is we start thinking about what's the challenge, first of all, and that's one that often gets skipped before we start. Let's identify the challenge. Then secondly, let's analyze the data. Let's look into the data and just learn about what's the data that we have in front of us. What do we think? The hard part for me as a school leader was positioning myself as a learner rather than an expert, right? Even though I know a lot. Like at my school, I knew a lot about my school. I was there every day, right? I'd worked hard. I'd done a lot. I've been a teacher. I've been an assistant principal. I knew a lot. It's really hard to peel that back and say, for this hour and a half, I'm going to position myself as a learner. And I'm going to try to turn down my expert voice and just learn what is this data telling me. Because I had to have a teacher tell me this, that what I was doing is instead of doing what the protocol was asking, I was just using the protocol to confirm my bias. I was coming to it with a thought, and I was just looking for any way to confirm what I already thought. And that's the opposite of what we want to do. We want to just try and peel back and say, okay, I'm just going to try and learn from what this data says, even if it might be contrary to something I might have thought going in, because I want to be the learner as we do it. So these first three are going to be designed to immerse ourselves in the data after identifying the problem and then thinking about the whys. Then we're going to get into this idea of planning for impact. We think it's really important to identify how we do that. We start with a brainstorm, then we do a little prioritization, and then we think about the next steps. Then, after we do that, that's where we'll be here today. We will then go where we'll start to assess impact, and then you can start again, right? You come back again, right? Because you implement the steps that you talked about, and you come back together and say, how did it go? Did it get us where we want it to be? And what's our next steps? Okay? So this just gives us a little understanding of where to go, okay? Now, I'm going to ask us now, I know some of you have devices and some of you do not. How many of you are having a device where you can look at this? Anybody here have something that you can look at that on? Their phone or, It may be better to have paper or, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, I might have to take over control just to print it real quick.
Okay,
If
yeah,
that's fine.
yeah.
We
Yeah,
can do that.
so Andy could actually, well, you can see, as he's doing that, I'll just mention to you, what you're gonna see is, as Andy said, they're working in the district a lot to generate, data that is helpful. So what we're gonna look at today is survey data from a couple of stakeholder groups that we think really important. Families at home, students in school, right? And specifically, this survey that they did, this panorama survey that they did, has questions that are asking them to consider their own experience around things like, to what degree do they feel safe in school? To what degree do they feel like they have someone who can help them? To what degree is the school responding to their needs? Those kind of questions, and you'll see them in here. The idea being, we can think one thing, right? But we want to know, what's the experience like for the people who are in the schools, right? So as you open these links, what you'll see is there's a series of what the panorama folks do a really nice job of quantifying in a way that makes it sort of easy to look at, right? And easy to see what they're after. So if you have a device, you click on that link, it'll open it for you. And what you'll see is pages like this, and this one is, for example, the family survey. And parents and families were asked to respond to us regarding some questions. Now, what I'm going to ask you to do, when we have that all in front of us, is we're just going to start by sort of immersing ourselves in data a little bit. And you're going to familiarize yourself by going through, reading what the questions were and looking at the response percentages. Okay? And what I'm going to ask you to do, I guess what we could do is work together in groups of 3, because there's 9 of you. That's perfect. Okay. So we always think that the best practice of this kind of work is to start in small groups first, right? So small groups can kind of sift through it together and look at it, and then come back after you make noticings. Now, I just want to yeah, please go ahead.
How are the people online gonna be able to do this also?
I think they have the,
this.
yeah, they have the links. Yeah, yeah, I think that's the case, and if I'm wrong, you know, we certainly can,
They won't be able to have a small group conversation.
yeah, that would be challenging. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, but we're all part of a team, so I just want to make sure that they can.
Yeah, so to me, what I think we would do is have them individually look at it, and then we'll include them in the group conversation when we come back. Does that make sense?
Whatever works.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. Appreciate that.
You can put me and Jigs in a breakout room, or anyone else who's on the school board.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, they can make a breakout room for them.
When Andy comes back.
Yep. Yeah, no, that's pretty easy. I can help with that.
Yep.
So here's what I'm gonna ask us to do. I'm gonna ask us to think around a sentence stem that helps when you look at the data. The thing we're gonna try to do is hold back judgment or explanation initially. This is just an initially. So as I'm looking at the data, I might say, and I'm making this up, this isn't even related to your data, but I'm gonna make up a statement that to me is where we wanna go. If I was to say something like, I noticed that in grades 3 through 5, more parents report feeling they have a connection in the school than grades K to 2. Now, that may not be true, I just made that up. But you see how I didn't say that was good or bad? I didn't try to explain it. I just made a noticing, right? Initially, what I'm gonna ask you to do is just be noticing, what do you see in here? What jumps out at you? What are the things that you go, wow, that's something I noticed here that's important for us. And you are trying to elevate, as leaders, you're trying to elevate, what's this data telling us, right? But the key is, at this point, it's so hard because we all care so much about the results. The key is to stay in that just noticing idea, right? So as you're looking at things in your small group, you're gonna say, oh, I noticed, right? I think it's also helpful if someone in the small group would be so kind to make sure you're capturing those noticings. So either on a device or on a piece of paper, oh, we noticed that. Or we saw that this situation exists, and you just make those, because when we come back to the full group discussion, it's gonna be helpful if you've captured some of those as parts of your discussion, okay? And when we are doing this, this is where the place when I mentioned about sort of trying to hold back on what you might have thought going in, just put that behind you for a second, and just position yourself as a learner, say, I'm just gonna try and learn about what this data tells me in front of you. And if it's something that is something you would have thought before, great. If it's something different than you thought before, that's fine too. But just try and position it that way. That make sense? Okay, so Priscilla, perhaps would you mind joining these two in a group of 3? And then you guys can have a group of 3, and then you guys will be a group of 3?
I got an idea.
Yeah,
You know, if if you wanted to do the, like, just thinking, we want to take a look at that.
Great.
And I don't know.
Thanks so much.
It's coming in.
Okay, so you guys have, you guys have, what did you
Well,
look
they
at?
are.
Just a set of
They
the.
have 325 family. I don't have your deck. So I was just suggesting, since I do that, everybody does whatever. So we want
Yeah.
to family and then look at whatever, you know what I mean? So if you open these things, you'll see. There's a summary page. The first page is family,
Click on that.
and then it's individual.
For you and that.
This looks like one
And then you can
set.
sort of scroll through that,
Okay.
and then when you're done looking at that one, you can just go back and just get to the next one.
I know, does that make sense? I can figure it. We've got.
Yeah, we can move those then.
So you have all
Is that
three.
a
of
set
them.
of everything?
You need it?
Yeah,
Well, I can't.
she has all three of them, so if you guys want to look at them together, yeah, put them in the middle.
We'll swap. One chair.
They won't open for you, Phil?
One second.
Whoops.
I don't know, I can't see it, it's, I have a 3, 4, 5 here.
Okay.
This is a.
Yeah.
I can give you this.
Yeah.
set.
So I
Let
just
me-
needed a slide, show me that a little bigger.
All right, so I have the family one.
Okay.
So then, yep, there you go. You just, the links are right
You
there,
got them.
underline.
I was trying to do all of it, so anyway, so then maybe you can give us this one that I gave you. I have it.
You want to just give instructions to the folks online?
Oh, sure, okay, yeah. So, the links, if you look over the grayscale box over on the right-hand side, the links are the underlying places. The first one says grades 3 through 5, the second one says grades 6 through 12, and the last one says family climate. So if you were to click on any of those three, that, it's in the form of a PDF, that will come up and you'll be able to look at that. Make sense? Okay, yeah. So again, if someone in your group, or those who are online, if you're, we'll put you, perhaps put you in a breakout group. If you would just, as you're looking, just jot down noticings that you have. You can do comparative, ideas, you can do just noticings of something that strikes you, but it's just, we're not explaining it right now, we're just thinking about what we see. Okay.
Which one are we supposed to be working?
They're all three.
All three of
All
them.
three. Yep, so
Yeah.
you're just looking through all three, to look for anything that you notice.
Okay,
Okay, yeah.
okay. Look at one, I've got it, I've got
Thank
it.
you.
To do
Okay.
3, 5, 6,
So,
4,
yeah, so
family.
do we just correct one at a time?
Yeah, I have all three.
Oh, you do, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
I need to put them all.
Yeah, we've got all three.
So
Oh, perfect. There you go. Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
3, 5, down.
When you want
So
to
they
give
were
us a.
talking about maybe putting those folks in a breakout group, so they can have a small group together.
Oh, now you've tested my.
You want me to, I can do it if you
Yeah,
like.
could you?
Sure, no problem.
This is 3, 5.
I don't mind at all.
Okay.
Hazardous job, I'm always in.
I've got it on here. Yeah, it's not working.
This is our subject, really.
We're supposed to be noticing.
No,
Just know that, just know this, let's see what happens. Whatever they might be.
Oh, it's the same.
Black and white, you're up there.
Well, there you go. I think the dark thing. This is 3 to 5. Dark one.
Yes.
I think that's, let me see.
Yeah.
So if that's true.
Yeah.
Okay, so the dark thing, yeah, that's, so that would be
Good.
the green.
Green means go.
Green, but then see, this is orange.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think these, I mean, this is a little
To the right was where their representation.
Now that looks normal.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that will tell you.
At least now we know how to. Yeah, they all, I mean, and this is grades 3 through 5, so these are the students that did this.
So still really.
So,
Yeah.
is everybody gonna be in that group? Would you want
everyone?
No, Andy. Andy?
Just board members, so the team.
Yes.
Yeah, Hardy.
This is like a national, this is national standard, so it's very confusing. This is.
Oh, sorry.
Different center.
Right.
So.
These are the questions.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to be
Right.
finding things.
Yes.
There's 3 different groups. I guess there is.
What I really like is really surprising is that how strong is the social connection.
So the kids did it, and then the other kids did it, and then
Beyond
the
the school, they're saying, deep,
Yeah.
and then I never really feel really connected.
That's what.
Correct. third through fifth grade students.
6 through 12.
Their teachers are proud of that, and then the other one,
Pretty high for
on here where it says 72%. I know how much students feel that their teachers hold them and not too high expectations.
What do you guys know?
Understanding persistence. So,
For me, on that, that I know, I looked at the
I'm
summary.
sure I understand some of these questions.
Are you looking at everything else here?
I'm first looking at the summary page.
So this is,
and I
this is
think
much
these
higher
numbers
than the
are-
national standard, so this would be particularly a really interesting answer.
Well, I think what you know, is I think what we're going to do is rather than, I think, what is rather than
This one says 60, 79, so it's
what
at least the
you
same.
know. You know, I think what they want you to do is what you notice before you evaluate.
That's right. Yeah, right now, we're all.
Right, I just-
Okay.
So we're seeing that. So higher, this one up here.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? Perceptions of the overall.
These are. Yeah.
Yes.
We are, like this one, we're at 72%, but here,
So.
we only.
Things that you.
Right, noticing rather than evaluating.
Yes, right. Hold on, we're gonna do that.
I get you.
It doesn't.
Yep, but right now, yep, yep, you are right on the right track. Thank you so much.
They just don't compare
Like, you know,
to us in the same way, right?
How's it going? Good.
Question. This is our results. This comparison over here is, for example, this one, we're really high here, but our percentage of comparison is low because.
So do you want me to jot down any
Say the
notes?
Same things, is that what that's indicating?
Yeah, and also,
I mean,
see.
I was thinking this myself.
Mhm.
So
Really, you know, school rigorous expectations.
does the
and school
benchmark they're doing it
teachers'
versus like a
relationships,
standard across the country. So see, it's really
and
high,
then
then it's above the
you know,
standard over here, that's really
below
low. When it's
the-
down here, it's like
the
it's
ones
below the standard
that are
that they would expect.
sort of in comparison.
Positive
School engagement, what are the requirements
It's
we
better
have
to
the
be further to the
Six
side.
are
to
less,
12,
you know, are the,
these are
are much less
This
than.
is 59% putting in that second benchmark.
Oh,
in
okay.
terms of numbers.
As opposed to 72 would move you more to the middle versus other schools, right?
But 62 is lower and it moves us further over.
Yeah,
That's
because
why I'm
that's.
saying this is.
But see, this is comparison versus like a national average, right? So what the.
Correct, and there's,
national average
They don't come up like school safety and
There's a
school
piece
belonging.
high versus
Are
like here
all
outside of.
Same.
In other places, so they have the national, so they look at it, and they give you a benchmark, compare yourself to.
Climate and.
So they wouldn't actually be,
Yeah, I was
all
just
of these
saying that
categories being the same
school
number
belonging
because
and
it's
school
different.
safety are right now 61, noticing
No, no, yeah.
that they are
Yeah.
kind of one
So it's just helping
category.
you see how you're doing faring versus
So, you
their
know,
median
school
and median average.
what I said before, school, you know, rigorous expectations.
It's social placement across the country.
Are a category.
Safer.
High category.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
In other words,
And then
62% high, 61% of schools across.
school climate and school engagement are another
You are
category.
faring higher than
That's what I,
another
I don't know about. the rest.
they're lower than.
So I would say that school climate, school engagement,
Yeah.
school rigorous expectations are all higher than the national,
That's what the answer is.
Percent.
They have to take the view.
the percentage nationally.
18 is actually.
Even though our, these are our two
I have
lowest,
no idea where
those
our
two are still
expectations
higher
but I
than
think
the
these answers
national
are still
average.
really interesting. How attentive and
That's what I-
invested students are in school.
That's so sad.